Welcome everyone to this Public Speakers Association virtual summit for March Madness. We were just talking about March Madness. So hopefully we don't have any madness here, but we should have a good time listening to some great speakers. So I want to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Scott Schilling, and Scott is an accomplished executive coach, international trainer, and speaker with over 4 decades of experience in sales and marketing. As an author, TV show, and podcast host, he shares his insights on success and personal growth. Despite surviving a near fatal accident, Scott's resilience and passion for helping others thrive make him a beacon of inspiration. So I turn the time over to Scott Schilling. Take it away, Scott.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's absolutely awesome. As you see, my moniker is the Authentic Connector. I've been very blessed in my career. I've done over 3,000 live events, to literally probably millions sitting in chairs in front of me, and being the front man for infomercials and things like that. And all that means is I've had great opportunity to learn a lot from some really amazing people. So I welcome this opportunity. The Public Speakers Association is awesome. What Brian's doing with it, and the rest of the speakers today are great friends. You're going to hear some great information today. So my topic is really how turning content into cash. And let me start with just a question to you. How many of you have dusty, musty, crusty old content that you've already created, sitting somewhere, not making you a penny? Can anybody relate to that? All the hands. Everybody's got, some are having 2 hands up, right? You know, I had a friend not long ago, we were talking about this. He says, you know how many side drives full of content I have sitting in my desk drawer that I've never even published? And at first I empathized, and then I asked him a serious question. How's that working for you? And he said, not real well. And I said, exactly. See, if you've been around the speaking, training, coaching business for any period of time, you're probably thinking, I resemble that situation. Well, don't worry. That's what we're going to talk about here today, is how to turn that existing content into cash. I know some of us more mature, that's code word for older. Some of us more mature speakers are hearing the new latest greatest techniques from people that are saying, well, you got to produce content. How about those of us who already have content? We're probably sick and tired of producing content, quite frankly. We've got so much content, it's blowing through the roof everywhere, right? So it's not about producing more content. It's about using what you already have, repurposing it. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is how to turn that into cash. So I'm going to talk to you about AI. Now, can we all agree AI is here to stay? There's not a doubt about that fact. I mean, I haven't always been on top of all the trends, but this one I'm on top of. This one is not going away. And of course, did you realize, because most people don't, that when AI came to the marketplace, it was really defined as augmented intelligence. It was really meant to augment the intelligence that was already out there. Now, as a speaker, a trainer, a coach, a consultant, an author, whatever your position might be, you've got massive genius. You've invested in yourself. You have studied with the greats. You have read. You have gone through courses. You've been trained up. You've experienced it. But the fact is, it was supposed to augment your intelligence, not take it over. And after a while, unfortunately, AI got dumbed down to artificial intelligence. Well, did I say my moniker is the Authentic Connector? It's not about artificial anything, But AI is here to stay. So my encouragement is to help you understand the consequences of it staying. Now, that's a very important word, consequences, because there are consequences. The question is, more importantly, do you want to learn how to both protect yourself from it and capitalize with it? See, that becomes the key. That is possible, by the way. It is possible to both protect yourself and your genius from AI, but also capitalize on the trend that is the hottest thing out there, AI. So what do I mean by that? ChatGPT has all but stated, give us your knowledge, we'll learn it, we'll combine it with the knowledge of others, we'll basically take your genius, your intellectual property, and we'll turn it into dust. So let me ask you a question. How's the dust market paying these days? It's not. If everything becomes the same, where do you, the human being, the master of this genius, where do you play a role? How do you sell your genius if your genius is no longer genius? If your genius is just part of the rest of it? So if the world knows everything you know, how do you maintain your value? That's what it comes down to. Now, I am an inspirational speaker, so I came here to give you some inspiration on this, not to demoralize you by any stretch of the imagination. What I am working to do is call your awareness to something. And again, take this with critical thinking and put it up for consideration. How do we capitalize on AI? How do we take our genius and what we've been able to create over this period of time and capitalize it? The answer is actually fairly simple. You've got a first mover's advantage. Who knows you and your material better than you? Nobody. You're it. You are the highest intelligence on your stuff. You and your genius created your content, your intellectual property. Now, they say nothing is new in the world. It's just restated a different way. But yes, it's the restatement of it that's yours. And it's the little twitches that you bring to it that are so exciting. So turning your existing content into cash by creating your own resource library of you. That's what it's about. It's what I did. It's actually what many other people are doing. So instead of falling prey to artificial intelligence, how about becoming a master of your authentic intelligence? Let's take I and look at it a different way. It's about being your authentic. So let me give you a quick glimpse of that, because what I've been able to do, and I'm helping many others do, is create them GPT. You're looking at Scott GPT here. And so I even give people the ability to ask some questions if they don't have the questions, but I'm going to actually ask myself a question. Why is trust so important? Now, this answer is going to come from 514 pieces of my existing content. And I simply hit a button and it goes to work and finds my piece. I'm hoping it's sharing properly. There it is. It found the document.
Trust is a fundamental element in communication and relationships because it establishes a foundation of confidence between the communicator and the audience.
Now I'll stop the audio, but it's not only found my answer to that situation, it speaks it to me, but the other side of it is it also gives me the resource that came from. And if I wanted to dig into this resource, or if I wanted to share it with somebody, So I've got another friend who's got, in fact, maybe a friend that's on this call, that's got a plethora of content. Now, when we have a plethora of content and you ask us a question personally, we probably have that answer because it was our content and we probably know how to answer the question. But then somebody asks the next question: how do we study that content? Well, it's in one of my series. Which one? Yes, I'll get back to you with that. The reality is, I've got a friend that we've now helped create their authentic intelligence. And in fact, what's happened with that is he's done 1,768 podcasts. Let that sink in. And if you ask him a question, he is absolutely the master of that answer. But the question becomes, where can I study that? And he'll go, yes. He doesn't know where it is, nor do many of us who have hundreds of pieces of content. And so because we digitize your knowledge, transcribe it, categorize it, catalog it, now you can ask your own content how to do things. By the way, when I was asked for a bio for this event, you get asked for, I said, I got a 12-word bio or I got a 1,200-word bio. Which one do you want? And they said, well, we only need, a couple hundred words. Well, I don't have one, or I didn't have one until I asked Scott GPT to write a 200-word bio. And it wrote a 193-word bio that, quite frankly, I'm using to this day now, because it did a better job of what I could do, because it took all sorts of different experience across my existing content to do that. AI is here to stay. My encouragement to you is make sure that it's your authentic intelligence. Stop training the world, because if the world knows everything you already know, how do you get compensated for it later on? Then it's going to be whatever I give from stage, I get paid for it, and I've got nothing else I can do. See, when you have your own version of this, right? You can now create membership sites, and you can create one-on-one coaching if you want to do that. You can create group coaching if you want to do that. You can create whatever. I don't know if anybody else got involved in this, but somewhere right around March 2nd, I was in Colorado Springs on a worldwide contract to train an amazing organization. And when I got the call that day that said, how'd the training go today? Oh, it was awesome. Everybody loved the material. Everybody was excited. The next thing was, great, when you get home, we're done. What do you mean we're done? We're done. So we're on hold? No, the contract's gone. Weekly speaking events that were scheduled for the rest of the year were gone in one phone call. As a speaker, trainer, coach, author, consultant, you've got to have multiple streams of revenue. And the way that you do that, in my opinion, is your IP. You're the genius of you. You're the best one that can present you. So therefore, number one, you got to protect it. Number two, you can capitalize on it. There was a great quote by the director of the London School of Economics. He said, jobs in the past were about muscles. Now they've been about brains. In the future, they're going to be about heart. Well, here's the good news. For me, I've always been about heart and relationships. That's why it's the authentic connector. It's putting the heart into it. If you can put the heart into your speaking, training, coaching, consulting, and protect your IP at the same time, you can now deliver that authentic intelligence in such a way to not only save your speaking business, but to grow and maximize it and achieve whatever your little heart desires that you got into the business for in the first place. I hope that was helpful to you. I'd love to take any questions that anybody might have. Brian, is there a specific way of grabbing those?
It looks like
I'll,
Tracy has a question.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not a question. I just want to add to what Scott has been saying here. One is absolutely ChatGPT is here to stay. Nothing came onto the scene like it did, an explosion of 10 million users in 3 months, blew every historical kind of record that was out there. It's so important. I have over 140 books on ChatGPT prompts. But the other thing I want to say is, of course, I'm part of what Scott is talking about. And as somebody who has 1,700 videos of content and no way to really answer questions like, except from what I know, but not succinctly and beautifully the way I would have done on a video, right? And so it's so wonderful to be, Tracy GPT type of scenario. So it's a really fun way to amalgamate your data and your information in a way that is effortless to you. It's literally linking to a video or linking to a podcast and things of that nature. So it's exciting what Scott is working with.
Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, one of the things, again, us more mature folks, code word for older, our learning style was if there were 66 lessons, we would study 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and we would work to internalize all of that. Well, today's learning style with Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials is just-in-time answers. So when you have the resource library, if you have clientele that is more mature and wants to study it all, you can give them that. And if you want those who simply want the answer, you can give them that wrapped around where that answer was found. And that's what makes it so great. Everybody on this is here because they have a great desire to serve their audiences. There's no doubt in my mind, or you wouldn't be a speaker, trainer, author, coach. You wouldn't do it. So I know you're here to serve people. There are tools available to help you do that.
Does anyone else have a question? So real quick, Scott, are you saying?
Kathy looks like Kathy's got her hand up.
Oh, Kathy, I'll let Kathy go ahead.
Hey, Scott, I just wanted to say I love the idea of Scott GPT and Kathy GPT. I think it's fantastic. And I've often wondered how to get all of my, hundreds of thousands of articles into chat so that they know my voice. That's been my thing, is like, how is it going to know my voice? So I think it's a great idea.
Well, that's the other thing it does, is it protects your voice. And literally we have actually recorded my voice. So if I wanted to speak in my actual speaking voice, I can get it to do that as well. So
Wow.
Thank you. That's awesome.
All right. If there's no other questions, I will forego my question because I think you've already answered it, Scott. Anyway,
Anybody
yes.
can reach out, Scott@scottschilling.com. Bring it on. We'll answer
All
everything.
right. Okay,
Perfect.
Scott@scottschilling.com. Pretty easy to
I don't
find.
hide one. I don't hide one.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So we will move on. And our next speaker is Tracy Repchuk. And Tracy has 23 appearances in Forbes. She is a 9-time international best-selling author. She's a world-renowned speaker in over 39 countries. She's an award-winning entrepreneur, writer, and speaker, including awards from the Senate Assembly and the White House Presidential Award from President Obama. She started a software company at the age of 19. She has been a pioneer on the internet since 1994. She's an invited member as an Amazon influencer and a LinkedIn and the LinkedIn Advisor Program. She's been featured in over 22 national and local TV spots on ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and more. And she has been featured in 3 motivational movies. All right, it's my pleasure to present to you Tracy Repchuk. Go ahead, Tracy.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me here for this amazing event. I'm super excited to be sharing what I'm going to be talking about today. Okay, so welcome, my amazing and beautiful speakers. I'm Tracy Repchuk, and I'm super excited to be showing you the Legacy Life Code, how to get more income, influence, and impact in 30 days or less. Who likes the sound of that? Say me in the chat. Good. Okay, so first off, what is a legacy life? So this is when you create a positive and enduring mark in the world by aligning your divine message to your purpose-driven goals so you can reach millions and contribute to the success of yourself and others from your overflow. It's about working less, making more, creating wealth, enjoying it, and sharing it, and being part of a movement that teaches others to live a legacy life, not just leave it. So I've mastered this process, and created a system from it because I discovered out of all of my successes, whether it's my 9 times #1 bestsellers, appearing in Forbes 27 times, getting awards from the Senate, the Assembly, the White House, and President Obama, or speaking in 39 countries. The important part of all of this is that you are on a mission, you have a purpose that only you can do. So let me repeat that. You're on a mission, you have a purpose that only you can do. Now, why do I believe this so fully? Because at the age of 3, I was struck by a car, exited my body, I saw it broken on the road. It was a near-death experience that shaped my entire life. It was a gift and a blessing. And from that moment on, I've been on a mission to help others fulfill their legacy. So let's start off by taking a look at what is the traditional definition of a legacy. So a legacy is creating something that is passed on. This means you're determining what are you going to leave your loved ones and your family. You're building generational wealth, the passing on of a business, assets distributed, things of that nature. And there are generally 4 places a person starts to think about the legacy they are leaving. So the first is you're successful and you're seeking. You realize there is more to life, that you came here with a mission and a purpose, and it's time to determine what is helping to strengthen that and move you more towards that. So who are my seekers out there ready to play a bigger game? Say seeker in the chat. All righty, good. The second place is that midlife crisis. You have a desire for something completely different than what you have. You often might be feeling lost, unfocused, not satisfied, unfulfilled, restless, and unsure of who you are anymore. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing if it goes towards your mission. Now, the third place is the wake-up call. This is that near-death experience like I had. It's an accident, an illness, the loss of a loved one. Now, this is where my brother started to think about what he was doing. He was very successful, but super busy. He spent 5 days in Boston working for a Fortune 100 company while his wife remained in Toronto, Canada. My brother was 50 years old, midlife crisis, purchased a motorcycle, and when he went to pick up his bike, while testing it in that first hour, he got in an accident and ended up with a broken back and in a wheelchair. So during his 5-month stay in the hospital, his attention turned to legacy. Now, who here has ever experienced a health crisis or is close to someone in a health crisis? The loss of a loved one. This can cause you to feel anxious, fearful, vulnerable, lonely, empty, and with a desire and a need for meaning and impact. Now, I moved back to Canada from California, where I was living for the past 22 years, to care for my parents. So I know this one well. And the fourth place that you start to think about legacy is when it's too late. You don't have the time or the energy. Again, proving that time is not on our side. So here's a legacy fun fact, and that is everyone is building a legacy. It's being built with or without your knowledge. And the good news is you're here. Imagine the power now you know. Imagine what you can create knowing you are the creator. And now it's a question of what do you want them to say about you? Because as the creator, everything you write, everything you say, everything you do, what you care about is all conveniently documented on your digital footprint through the people you meet, the impression you made, and the thoughts that they have. So that means that your legacy is designed by you. It's personal. And so now with this knowingness and awareness that you are being watched, you are a role model, you are a leader, you're building a legacy. What do you really want? To be successful at, to be known for, and your legacy to look like. So your legacy can be all about you. But here's the caveat. Whatever you design, you need to understand the impact of your legacy. When you realize that your legacy, with or without you, has an impact that goes beyond you, it becomes important that you're building with intention. Because what you do matters, whether you know it or not. You make a difference, whether you know it or not. This is why legacy life is key, because it's about living your legacy, not leaving it. So as I began to study this topic more, I created a legacy life wheel that helps you determine where you are and what you need to focus on based on 4 key aspects. And the wheel touches on 8 topics that help you accelerate your income, your influence, your impact, and your legacy. All right, so here's how it works. When you align your divine message to your purpose-driven goals, you can reach millions and live a legacy life. So, are you ready to take the quiz? Let me hear you say yes in the chat. Okay, later you can take this quiz actually officially at legacylifequiz.com. It only takes 60 seconds, and based on your score, you're going to discover where you are, what you need to focus on, and get that personal report to help you walk through it. But for now, I'm just going to quickly go over those questions as an overview. Now, if you want to do it as we're going through this, you can take out a piece of paper, write down the numbers 1 to 8 along the side, and then we're going to fill a number 1 out of 10 for each of the questions. All right, here we go. Okay, so the first question is all about clarity, right? So have you defined your right fit client, their pains, problems, transformation, where they hang out, and what they buy and why? Okay, so you put that on a scale of 1 to 10. The second question is focus. How well are you staying focused on your one purpose-driven goal? 1 to 10. Question 3, community. How active and engaged is your community with you? So if you're on social media, this would be reflected in clicks, likes, comments, and sales. This number is not how many followers you have. It's how much engagement are those followers actively doing with you. Now, question 4 is visibility. How visible do you feel to your right fit audience? Do they know you on site, by mention, by name? Does your reputation precede you? Question 5, systems. How automated and integrated are your systems? This is for lead generation, sales, customer experience, and marketing. And question 6 is scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready is your business to scale to $1 million? Now, it's part of my mission to really empower you to achieve this goal. I help speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs create a high impact business where you accomplish your purpose driven goals, create a work life balance, and add 7 figures in sales booked in 2 years or less. And then question 7 is philanthropy. How satisfied are you with the amount you're donating to your causes? Now, the key here is maybe it's not much right now because you have to take care of yourself first. A legacy life is about having more money that you know what to do with, and this is what you do with it. It's called delivering from your overflow, because there is nothing sadder than a broke philanthropist. And then question 8, how free do you feel from your business? So on a scale of 1 to 10, you would select how many weeks off could you take. So select 1 if it's 1 week or 5 if it's 5 weeks, where you didn't need to check in at all and it was still running the same or better without you. Now, the entire result of a legacy life is you get to do what you want, where you want, when you want, with who you want, and your business takes care of itself. Now, when you add up all of these numbers, your score will determine your legacy life roadmap journey. So if your score was between 8 and 30, that means you need to look at an income alignment. 31 to 50 is get an influence accelerator. 51 to 70 is an impact awakening, and 71 to 80 is to get a legacy amplifier. Now, when you do the quiz online, you'll actually receive a guide that will walk you through each of those steps and what you need to focus on. So, share in the chat, actually, where are you? What is your score? How did you come up on this? Just going to take a quick peek here, see if I can see any coming up. Awesome, awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Okay, good. And so what's great is when you know where you are, it helps to determine where you're going to start and the path that you're going to take. So again, if you head to your legacylifequiz.com, you can put your numbers in and generate a personal report. And for you guys today, though, one thing I wanted to offer was as a special bonus, if you put in the code LL, actually it's LL VIP, LLR might work as well. You're going to get a ticket for just $1. Now, my goal is to really get you off the hamster wheel and producing at that freedom scale, right? At that legacy life scale. And so when you attend this workshop, it's just 4 hours and it's really pure power. That's what I want to give you. So again, we're going to walk through the whole roadmap during that time. You're going to take a look at what do you need to do to improve your income, get more leads, and create that steady stream so that you're no longer suffering from the roller coaster income. We're going to take a look at, kind of accelerating your power and really taking a look at how to get more visibility and creating that impact that you so desire, and then how to go through that awakening process. During this, I'm really going to take a focus on those things that are keeping you broke. In fact, I'm going to highlight one thing that almost everyone is doing right now that worked in the past that no longer is. I'm going to change one thing to your target market that can take you from 6 to 7 figures. I'm going to demonstrate a new trend in coaching offers that could be the one thing that changes everything for you. And then I'm going to show you with proof the numbers on how to scale and simplify your business and position you as the thought leader and influencer that you are. So there's kind of the sampling of what a legacy life is. And of course, taking you through the entire process is where you'll really be able to get the full scope of it. So are there any questions? Any questions out there, Brian?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I love that you're talking about legacy because that's one of the things that I think about a lot is what is the legacy that I'm leaving. And in fact, I think about it so much that it's probably become a negative thing where I worry about it too much. And I get down on myself too much. But anyway,
And thank
yeah,
you
go ahead.
for that because traditionally what has started to happen now is people are thinking about, right, those 4 spots, right? Where are they in that sequence? And then they're starting to think about legacy. And then, as you say, because you don't have a roadmap, it actually becomes overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, what am I leaving? Who am I leaving it to? Even for people that don't have family, this isn't really about that. It's about, did you fulfill your why? Did you fulfill your mission? Did you do what you were meant to do? And then often one of the things that can occur is somebody really doesn't quite know what that is. And so it's a good thing to have somebody help you assess that, primarily because you can't read the label from inside the jar, right? We can't pull out our own genius. We can't sometimes see. Some of us, like I'll call it lucky enough, honestly, to have that experience where I was able to receive a message on, here is what you're meant to do. Here is things that you need to accomplish in your life on this planet. But not everybody gets that. And of course, it's so easy to get distracted. It really wasn't until the last 4 or 5 years. I've been working on this now for 20, but the last 4 or 5 years is when the technology has been able to get to a point and the model showed up. And with that coaching model I'm talking about has showed up that now allows each of us to take our expertise and to ensure that we are able to not just work less, but make more and impact those people that we need to, based on, of course, that message that we need and that we're all put here to deliver, so that it can get out there. Any other questions? I mean, I know Scott, he's probably off right now, but Scott's big into legacy as well.
No, I was
Simply,
actually gonna say that,
yeah.
Tracy. Sorry, I don't know how to unmute myself.
Oh,
No,
no worries.
legacy, you know, legacy is truly about significance. Success is a wonderful thing, but it puts you on the hamster wheel of life. Legacy puts you into significance, the meaning behind it all.
Yeah.
And you've just
Yeah.
done an excellent job with this for sure. So
Mm.
I've been through the program. It's absolutely amazing, and I would encourage everybody to take advantage of it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. Well, there's our journey, and I hope to see you guys at the Legacy Life event and take advantage of I'm going to unpack it all for you, and it's so exciting. I don't think I've ever been excited. Even when ChatGPT came out, I don't think I've been as excited as I am right now about this.
Okay. If we don't have any other questions, we will move on. Thank you very much, Tracy. Our next speaker is Kathy Burns. Kathy Burns is a board-certified professional organizer, image consultant, author, and speaker. Her mission for almost 2 decades has been to end overwhelm, energize, and transform lives by removing the muck and creating systems entrepreneurs can stick to. Kathy was lauded as a successful woman startup business by Good Morning America, and since then, her advice has been featured in Oprah Magazine, Martha Stewart Living, Better Homes and Gardens, and Entrepreneur Magazine, and more. All right, so let's hear it for Kathy Burns. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really good to be here. And Brian, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm new to this platform, and I'm really enjoying all the experts that have been presenting here. It's just fantastic. So today I'm going to talk about how to crush your chaos. And we've been talking about how to make more money. And of course, whenever you have less chaos, you can turn that into cash. And that's what I'm here to help you with. So let me ask you a question, a quick poll. Who here has never lost something? Anybody? Nobody ever lost their keys, ever lost their glasses that were sitting on their head? Anybody? Yeah. That's what I thought. We all lose things every single day. And it's costing us. It's costing us a lot of money. It's costing us time. It's costing us brain power. And oftentimes we think we're losing our minds. But guess what? You're not really losing your minds. You're just losing your productivity and your time, and it's costing you. I'd like to talk about squirrels here for a minute. So did you know that 40% of the nuts that squirrels bury, they lose? Yeah, that's exactly what we do as business owners. We're running around all day, jumping from branch to branch, chasing things, trying to get more money, trying to make more time, trying to get more friends, right? And it's costing us. And you lose 40% of your productivity. And that 40% could be $4,000, $40,000, $400,000. So you don't have legacy money to leave over, right? And as a professional organizer, I want to help you stop losing your nuts. I want to help you stop going nuts. And that's what I do. I help you find your nuts, gather your nuts, organize your nuts so that you don't go nuts. How do you like to be able to laser focus on your most important tasks? Because guess what? If you can't focus, you can't make money. If you're jumping from branch to branch, you don't have a plan in place, and you're losing money and you're losing time. And it pays to create streamlined systems that will support you, right? Systems that support, as opposed to what we do as creators, create more and more and more systems. And oftentimes they're half-baked, nutty systems. They're in the background fighting with each other. And, raise your hand if you'd like to stop time-sucking busyness tasks right now. Yeah, I'm going to show you a really simple way to do that. I'd like to share first a little bit about my background. For years, I was a licensed Coast Guard captain. I delivered boats and I lived out of a duffel bag. And I think that was the beginning of my career of simplicity, right? Way back in the day. Because if you need what you need when you're out at sea, and you have to have it with you. After that, I turned into a travel writer and I was living out of a suitcase. 42 weeks a year, I just lived out of a hotel in a suitcase. Again, that kind of led me to the simplification thing, like knowing that the importance of living small. I remember out to sea one night, I was on watch and I was watching actually satellite go over, which was really quite cool. And I was thinking about everything in my life back in my apartment and realizing that none of it really made any difference to me. Like I didn't need anything. So I'd get back to shore and I'd start purging. And same thing as a travel writer, I'd have the ability to think, oh, nothing really means anything. And, 13 careers later, I finally figured out, okay, we all have too much stuff and we all get mucked up in our stuff. And what can we do? Well, I met a lady who was on a healing journey. And when I was in the middle of transforming our life, and she had a year off, and I was helping her, and I'm like, girl, I went to her house. I'm like, you got to get rid of some stuff. There's no possible way that you can transform your life when you're surrounded by all this stuff. And she goes, you know what? Wow, you're really good at doing this. And this was way before I even knew what a pro organizer was. She goes, you need to talk to my girlfriend who's been using a pro organizer for everything. And so what I did was I launched my business way before right as Clean Sweep was coming out and people were starting to know what professional organizers were at that time. So I was really blessed. What that means is I was a pioneer. So what happened is that I got my board certification. I was one of the first ones in the world to be board certified. And Good Morning America picked me up as a successful women startup business. And then it all kind of snowballed and catapulted. You know how media goes, all of you speakers out there. And I was featured on a lot of different a lot of different platforms. And, I'm not saying this to brag. I just want you to know that you're taking the advice of an expert. I now actually write the board exam questions. I sit on the board and we review metrics for the newbies coming into town. But enough about me. I'm going to talk about today how to do 3 proven strategies to make more money. I want you to stop chasing squirrels. I want you to eliminate those paper piles, and I want you to plan before life plans you. Now, we only have a few minutes, so I'm not going to be able to jump into all of them, but I'm going to hit on a few things that you can implement. As a board certified professional organizer, my code of ethics is to give you transference of skills. I want you to walk away with this, with something that you can actually do right now to make your life better and to make more money. Clutter is the big culprit here, the C word, clutter, right? If you find yourself overwhelmed, it's probably because you're drowning in clutter. And clutter doesn't even just affect your landscape of your life, it affects your mental scape. And you can't make a difference if you can't find anything. If you're running around again, jumping from branch to branch, trying to find things, you can't make a difference. It's the number one thing that affects everybody, anybody over, I should say, 25 years old, are papers. Okay. We all have papers. Papers come to us 6 days a week without even any asking, it just shows up in our mailbox. And once you understand the potential to wreak havoc on your life, you'll know that it's the number one insidious thing. It can really keep you from your focus. It robs you of time. It robs you of emotional well-being, and it takes money right out of your pocket. So think about this. The average American, the average entrepreneur wastes 3 hours a week trying to find missing documents that they know that they own, that they cannot find. They didn't have the ChatGPT, right? And they can't find what they're looking for. So let's do this, statistically. So if that's that amount of time, that's about a month, a year that we're wasting trying to find things that we know that we own that we cannot find. So wouldn't you rather have like that month a year making more money, creating legacy, taking vacations, spending more time with your friends? Yeah. What would that 1 month a year mean to you? Let's talk about piles. There's 3 reasons that you have any kind of pile in your life. If you look around your environment and you see a pile, it's going to be one of these 3 things. It's going to be because you're indecisive. You see it, you have no idea what to do with it. Or you know what to do with it, you're just procrastinating about dealing with it. Or the guest shows up, you're just throwing it in a closet and being done with it. You're avoiding it all the way together. Those are the 3 reasons that you have a pile. So if you look around your space right now and you see any pile, it's going to be one of those 3 things, because piles will magically manifest. What I want you to do is I want you to have a strategy to get your piles gone. So if you consider, let's just look at paper piles. Let's think about paper piles as a guest in your house. When your guest shows up, you want them to have a place that they can enter and land in your life. You want a place for them to live while they're there, and then you want an exit strategy because they're not going to stay there forever. Hopefully, they're not going to become one of those long-term guests. So with papers, you want to designate a place for them to land, not your kitchen counter. And you want a place for them to live while you need them. And most importantly, to be able to find them when you need them, and then an exit strategy to get them gone. If you don't have that, you're going to end up like my client, Candace. Now, Candace is a prolific author. She's written several books, and she had moved herself out of her office, and she's working in her dining room table about 50 feet from her actual home office, because it had 8 years worth of indecisions, avoidance, and procrastinations. She was literally working on her laptop with a little side table, and that was it. And when she called me in, she said, Kath, I just can't take it. I can't go into my office anymore because there's too much stuff in there. It's too many undecided things, and I can't even write my book. So we worked together and we created a strategy to get her papers, the papers that she didn't need was originally 80% of them, which is always what happens when I work with paper. 80% you don't need once you understand what they are. And we got herself back into her office. She actually sent me this picture, said, now I can focus. Yeah, she's back in her office. She was so jazzed about it. She actually painted the whole thing, rearranged the whole thing, and she published the General Plans Purpose shortly thereafter. So she was able to focus and get stuff done. And this is what I'm saying about you. You've got to protect your space like it's your life, because it is. Your environment totally affects how you think, how you operate, and how much stuff you get done. What I'd like you to do for the papers that are living in your life, I'd like you to keep them vertical. Now, if you've ever worked with any kind of professional organizer, we're always like, be vertical, stay vertical, right? Because a pile doesn't do anything. You can't find anything. But if you think of your papers that are in action and you put them vertical, who here has this little stepper? Almost all of us have this little stepper. It's a brilliant thing. We don't use it quite the way that we could use it. Now, as a time management expert, I want you to chunk your different things into different tasks, right? And I'll talk about that in a minute. So basically, you want to keep everything vertical so that you can find them quickly, not have to flip through a pile and figure out where it is. So think files, not piles, and think vertical. Well, let's get into planning real quick. You want to plan your day before it plans you, right? I want you to stop chasing squirrels and actually know what you're doing, right? So like Yogi Berra says, you have to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. Sound familiar? We've all heard that one. And it's so very true. So you might be thinking, okay, great, Kat, this is great. How do I plan my week? I try to plan my week and then things go amiss. And I'm going to give you some tactics to actually do that. So what you want to do is you want to start by thinking about your most important projects for the week, right? Then you want to create an umbrella of intention over that week so that you actually know when you're going to get things done, and you're going to have specific chunks of time during that day to actually get it done. So this starts with this, any type of time management. You want to figure out what you actually do every single week. So most of us don't know what we do every week. It's kind of interesting. So what you want to do is start making a list of all the activities that you do for a week. Just write them all down. Write down everything you do. Then you're going to come up with, oh, okay, these kind of tasks can be put together. And I like you to merge the similar tasks together into similar days of the week. In other words, most of us do bookkeeping, most of us schedule clients, all of us are trying to get organized. We have tasks that we want to work with our VA, so on and so forth. So that would be like admin. Then we have projects. We have to write our blog. We have to create social images. We have to work on the book that we're working on that keeps getting backburnered. We want to work on our client projects. So that would be like a projects day. Then we have marketing, right? Then we have meetings, then we have research. So if you can kind of figure out all the things that you do and put them into what I call buckets or chunks of similar related tasks, you're going to save time, because every time you switch task, you lose 17 minutes. So if you can kind of get all the things lined up in little ducks in a row in one day, do the similar task, you're going to be able to get more done more effectively. How this looks like is this, and this is just one of my clients. So every week she has an administration day. She's going to actually work. She's going to actually get stuff done, get organized, get lined up. And typically it's going to be a Monday. Monday's your best day to do all the admin nitty gritty stuff, right? Then she also has to do her project. She's a financial planner. So she has client projects that she needs to work on. She wants to put together some marketing materials, right? She wants to do her projects like that. And then she has to meet with clients. Now, here's the thing. If you can meet with clients all in one day or 2 days of the week, it's going to give you the time to actually do the stuff that you need to do for your clients, right? And then, we all have to market. So what day are we going to go out and networking and doing our marketing? And then when are we going to research so that we can actually follow through and do stuff to the clients that we need to do? So if you can have a daily intention for what you want to accomplish, it's going to help you a lot. And guess what? It rains. All the time it rains. And what happens is when you have that intention, say, that it's a marketing day, if someone comes in and says, oh, I need to meet with you on that, you'll know what you didn't do if you choose to do it. You're going to have a better plan in your mind of, okay, I can go to, because generally when someone wants something for you, it's their fire, right? So you can make a premeditated decision. Okay, I'm going to not do my research today. I will jump into this client situation, but you know that you didn't do the marketing, so you can come back to it. So the whole point is, if you know what you're supposed to be doing, you know what you didn't do, you can make a better decision and plan. Is this making sense to everybody? Yeah. So without a pre-made plan, you're just stuck in busyness, right? And trust me, I've fallen prey to busyness before. I'm a bona fide reform squirrel chaser. Okay, being someone with ADD and ADHD, it's easy to chase squirrels, and we get stuck in the busyness factor. And if you don't have your goals and your projection for the week set in advance, you will get stuck in busyness. If you can eliminate your busyness, you'll get more done. So again, you never know when it's going to rain. If you have the plan and being aware of what day you want to do certain things, you're going to know what day is best to schedule things. So a client calls and says, hey, I'd like to meet with you, Kat. What's the day? I say, oh, I meet with clients Wednesdays and Thursdays. It's like, oh, okay, good. Put them in a Wednesday or a Thursday. And that way my admin day has not been derailed. My marketing day has not been derailed. And my networking day has not been derailed, right? So you're better able to make decisions on the fly when you keep your task group together and you have that overall intention of your day. You can get more done in less time. So when it comes to chasing squirrels, if you have a plan, you'll be aware of when you're jumping off to another branch and you're doing something that's not in the mission, right? And I know all of you want to be more efficient than a squirrel, right? Well, guess what? When you eliminate the clutter in your environment, you become more clear-minded, and it'll help you be more effective with your business. Here's the thing, though. Planning ahead gives us clear focus. Okay, squirrels are 60-40. They only use 40% of their nuts. The old Pareto principle is alive and true here with us human beings. 80% of the stuff we do is work about work. It's busyness, right? Only 20% of what we do is actually skilled strategy, where we're actually moving the needle, where we're actually crushing our chaos, and we're making more money. So if you plan ahead and you know what you should be doing, you know what you shouldn't be doing, you can get down to, hopefully, maybe we can beat the squirrels. I don't know. Do you think we can become 60% effective like the squirrels are? I strive for that, but we're all people, right? And we want to break that Pareto principle rule. So you can become more effective by planning ahead, by stop doing, chasing the squirrels and eliminating your distractions, getting rid of those paper piles, knowing what you're supposed to do before you do it, and you'll be able to eliminate your business and get down to business. Now, we only have a short time, and I know we're getting to the clock. What I did was, everybody says, I want to be more productive, Kath. How do I be more productive? So I created this sheet where I put the 6 things that I really wanted that I know will move the needle as far as productivity goes. And I know for a fact that you all are not going to do all 6 things. That's all well and fine. It doesn't even matter. If you choose one of the things on this list and you implement it, I guarantee that you'll crush your chaos and you'll turn your chaos into cash, because you'll be more linear and more focused. So go ahead and download this. It's the ultimate productivity checklist. Implement one of those things, if not 2 or 3. For the overachievers out there, and you will be able to make more money. Now, this download is usually $97. I sell it, but for you here, the Public Speakers Association, it's free. And I just want to give it to everybody. Implement one of those things. That's my challenge to you. Implement one thing, work it for 4 to 6 weeks, and see what happens. I guarantee you're going to make more money. So I wish you a lot of success. I'm super stoked to be here, and I love this platform. And I want to open it up for anybody who might have questions. And if you want to chat with me, you can also, go to chatwithkathy.com, and we can chat more about your specific situation. But now I'm open for questions. Yes. What's going on, Trace?
Yeah. Okay. So I completely, 100% agree with everything you're saying. And in fact, I have, a timesheet system that I built myself where every single hour of, of 5 days a week is specifically coded for how I already have laid out my, work days. It's amazing. Now, where it falls apart though, and I'm looking for a little guidance here, is I'm on the road right now for the next like month and a half. And then it becomes, this big crap show. Everything that I'm normally sequencing here, whether it be organizing receipts or books or social media follow-up or this or scheduling, all of it just turns into, this royal bloodbath. How do you kind of cope with the whole system falls apart for like a month and a half and kind of keeping control of something?
Yeah, you have to take your systems with you. So
And I
you've got
do.
to take the systems with you. And the thing is that again, so it's a month on the road. You're still going to have intentions of, okay, Monday is when I did need to get my act together. It's my admin day. So even though I might have 2 speaking gigs, you're going to have to dedicate some time on Monday to actually get organized and do your administration. Same thing, maybe you need to meet with clients. So you're going to have again that time for the client day, even though you're on the road and speaking. So again, it's having that overall umbrella. Like I know all 5 days of my week, even though most of us entrepreneurs work more than that, we get that bonus 6th day, right? If you have that focus of Wednesday is typically when I do this kind of stuff, then again, you'll know if you didn't do it and you know to come back to it, or you just do it and you fit it all in with all those other gigs that you have going on while you're on the road. Being on the road is difficult. I work with a lot of people who, back in the day, I worked with all these salespeople that their actual office was their car. and these days, our actual office is our laptop and our backpack, right? So it has to be intentional. You got to still, even though your schedule's all wacky doodle, if you can still do some of the task on the certain days of the week that you've determined that you're going to do it, it's going to really help you stay in line. So what I do in my Google Calendar, I actually have an intention, an arced intention over each day on my calendar, so that if I do get out, because I'm getting ready to hit the road for 2 weeks as well, I'll still know, oh yeah, I need to do some admin stuff today, or I need to do some marketing stuff today, right? It's still right there blinging me in the face about it. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that was a great idea. I mean, funnily enough, I bring my forms with me, but of course they're blank day after day after day. They just end up being like this whitewash. But I like that. I'm going to add that overarch of each of the days, which I don't have, and see if I can at least get something done. The only thing that are hard coded is the clients, right? I make sure that those don't fall apart. But yeah, the rest can. Okay, great.
Yeah. And you have to think about
right.
it. Hard-coded are your clients, but are the research and the marketing and the projects for the clients hard-coded as well? That's where we kind of fall off the wagon sometimes when we're on the road.
All right. Thank you, Kathy and Tracy. Hate to cut you off, but we need to move on. All right. Once again, thanks for sharing with us, Kathy. And it's time to introduce our next speaker. All right. Okay, so Sarah Lipton Sidibe. She was born in London, England. She is an author of fiction, short stories, poetry, a play, a children's book, short, film scripts, and song lyrics. She has worked as a stage actress and a voiceover artist as well. She's also created 3 academic books. Additionally, she has functioned as a personal tutor of English language and literature, and she's been an instructor of English as an international language. She's had fantastic resolution to have a job in the arts, despite the fact that in England it has actually been it has actually been a location in which those from ethnic histories have been actually outlawed. Sarah wishes to share her tale of how just how success can be achieved in less than ideal conditions. All right, so welcome to this virtual stage, Sarah. Oh, Sarah, you're muted. You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Hello, Brian. Thanks very much for introducing me and for enabling me to speak so quickly. I wasn't expecting to be allowed to speak so soon after I applied to speak. I thought I'd have to wait about 4 or 5 months. So I'm really grateful that I could be booked so quickly. I want to share my story of how I managed to achieve, even though I didn't have a good upbringing at all. So when I was born, I was fostered from birth until 6 years old. When I was fostered, my foster parents weren't good foster parents at all. They neglected me, and for example, I was allowed to play on a derelict site until about 8, 9 at night, and I was allowed to go to the takeaway with my foster sister. Also, when I was 5, I was knocked down by a car and I almost died, but I managed to survive that. Then, when I left those foster parents, I lived with my mother for a short while, but unfortunately, she had a breakdown. And when she was admitted into hospital, I was just with my half-brother and he tried to suffocate me to death. I was then taken in by other foster parents. And then I eventually lived with my own parents when I was 7. And when I did live with my parents, they didn't have a good relationship. My mother had a few breakdowns. And when I was 9, I was in care for 6 months. Then I lived with my parents again after that. And then when I was 17, I was almost raped. And when I was 18, my mother had a breakdown from the menopause and was in hospital for a year. However, even though I didn't have a good family upbringing, I managed to achieve, and I'm very proud of myself. I got my qualifications from school, and also between the ages of 11 and 15, my English teachers recommended me for a prize for English every year, which I was awarded. And then I went to university and obtained my degree. And when I graduated, when I was 22, I wrote my first short story collection. And some of the stories were broadcast on LBC Radio through the night programme. And I also began writing poetry when I was 17. So I was really pleased that I was able to accomplish these things. I didn't have any contacts in the arts. Neither of my parents were artistic, because it really does help if you have connections. And then after that, I managed to progress and eventually get a volume of my short stories published, so it took a very long time. The collection wasn't published until October 2020, and my short story collection, called A Journey into Fear and Fantasy, these are the stories I wrote when I was 22. They were published in March 2017. So I'm very proud of my accomplishments, and I was able to do this without any industry contacts. And publishing in England is a closed shop. The majority of the people in the industry are from a white middle class background, and it's very difficult to get in. So I managed to do it on my own. And also I managed to achieve highly at school and get academic qualifications. My degree, I also qualified as an editor and proofreader and got a qualification in teaching English as a foreign language, as well as numerous speech awards and licentiate in acting and a gold medal in public speaking and a performance certificate from Trinity College London. And in the 1990s, I was awarded the Shakespeare Cup from the Ealing Music Festival and the Diamond Jubilee Trophy and the Sonnet Trophy from the Beckenham Festival. And with the festivals, I just prepared myself without actually going to anyone. So I'm really pleased that I accomplished all this, as I said, without having a good starting life, because too often people with that type of upbringing, they turn to drugs or alcohol, and then you have a whole cycle of negativity in your life, and it just gets worse. But with what I experienced, it made me aware that I have great resilience. And also, I always turned to healthy alternatives such as yoga and meditation rather than taking drugs or turning to alcohol. So the message I have to pass on to people who may have been born in dire circumstances as I was is that your life can be positive. You need to have resilience and have a positive mindset. And the way to go is not down the usual path of drugs, alcohol, or other addictions. If it really does get bad, it's good to seek advice. I was very strong and I didn't have to actually go to anyone. But for people who aren't as strong, do that, because too often people then commit suicide, and every life is valuable. You should never feel, well, I should end my life. Hello? Hello?
Did we lose you, Sarah?
No, can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. I finished now with what I have to say.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions for Sarah? So, Sarah, what would you say is the number one thing that got you through the difficult times that you encountered and helped you to turn things around?
I think it's because I obviously have great resilience, because as I mentioned, I didn't turn to addictions because your life just spirals out of control. Well, also, I'm obviously physically strong because when I was 5, I was knocked down by a car and it didn't kill me. So I got through that. And then with my half brother, fortunately, he didn't leave the quilt over me for too long, because otherwise I would have lost my life. But I managed to get away from him. I was fostered with other people afterwards. And my mother, when she had a breakdown caused from the menopause, she was in hospital a year. And I was the only one who visited her. So I gave her strength by visiting. And I had a period when it was just my father and I living together when my mother had the breakdown. But I never had a good relationship with my father. I just went to college and then returned home and studied. But it's the resilience. I realise I have a lot of resilience, and that is what is necessary, so that people can actually get through crises in their life.
So how does one go about getting that resilience? If you're in a tough situation and
Yes.
you're not resilient like you are, where do people go rather than choosing alcohol or drugs, like you were saying?
Yes, well, there are places in England, there are charities such as the Samaritans, where people can see someone, and other organisations, because every life is valuable and nobody should take their life when things get that bad. Because also, when you kill yourself, there are the people who are left behind, your friends and family, who would be grief-stricken. So it's other people who will suffer also from your death. But, there is a way out. And also, turning to healthy alternatives rather than picking up the bottle and drinking or taking drugs. You know, you can take up yoga, meditation, things like this. It doesn't cost much to go to a class to do that. And then you'll meet like-minded people, because I read that we're the average of the 5 people we most associate with. So when you mix with other positive people, it will make you have a far more positive outlook, because a lot of people who go down the path of negativity, they then are mixing with other people like them whose behaviour is very negative. So that also traps them in that cycle of negativity and not being able to get out from it. And I must say as well, I mean, I wasn't raised in a religious background, because I know some people find religion a comfort. However, I do have faith, though. So I think it's my faith, although I never went to a place of worship every week, that also got me through.
Excellent. Are there any other questions from anyone? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Sarah. We will move on to our next speaker. All right. So our next speaker is Michaela Passeri. And Michaela is a highly acclaimed emotional intelligence business strategist, coach, international speaker, best-selling author, and community leader, boasting 2 decades of experience in building 6- and 7-figure businesses. Through her innovative approach and proven techniques, she helps entrepreneurs achieve greater success, fulfillment, and financial freedom. Michaela's pioneering method, Emotional Money Mastery, combines business strategies with emotional subconscious reprogramming, empowering clients to overcome challenges, boost productivity, and shatter income barriers. As the founder of the Global Woman Club, Michaela is dedicated to creating opportunities for women to network and thrive professionally in Los Angeles and in Florence, Italy. All right, so it's my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage, Michaela. Go ahead. Take it away.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here. No matter where you are, I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because you just never know nowadays when you're on Zoom where people are. So today I would love to talk to you. I'm going to share with you about the 4 corners of emotional intelligence and how actually your emotions predict your revenue. Emotional intelligence is a skill. It's a highly sought after skill, not only in Fortune 500 companies and in the corporate world, but also as entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurial world. And the reason is emotional intelligence is really that skill that allows you to really intentionally create your results. And I'm going to go a little bit into that in a moment. So for those of you that don't know what emotional intelligence is, well, it is the skill to use your own self-awareness, to self-manage and self-regulate, understand yourself deeper so you can understand others, and therefore have better social skills, better communication skills, and really find empathy as your guiding light in relationships. No matter what relationship, whether it's a work relationship, personal relationship, romantic relationship. So what's important to understand about emotional intelligence is, okay, how do we raise emotional intelligence? So number 1, we raise emotional intelligence by really doing an introspective work, right? Going deep within the self and finding out and understanding, okay, why do I do the things that I do? Why do I react in the way that I react? So why do I make decisions, in this way? For example, many people make decisions based out of fear and not necessarily out of possibility or love. And what happens when we make decisions based out of fear, majority of the time, and then it doesn't work out, right? But when we're making a decision from possibility, from what's the grander option and opportunity, when we make decisions from a place of love, 99.9% of the time, it all works out. And there's a reason for it. It's because of the come from, the emotional come from, right? So emotions play a very specific and important part in our everyday life, not only our decision making, but our action taking, or what we create in our life as far as results, and so on and so forth. So how we lead our business and our relationships. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, there are some specific emotions that trip us up, right? That maybe guide us in the wrong road, or have us sabotage ourselves, or sabotage our business or our work or our relationships. So I'm going to share with you the top 3 emotions that really trip us up in work, business, success, life, relationships, right? And the number 1 emotion is failure, or the fear of failure. You know, we all have experienced failure. We all have had a reaction to failure. And so what happens is when we have that experience, our brain records it in a way like, oh, that, no, I don't want to experience that again. Let me create all of these things unconsciously so that I don't experience that again. And that's where then, you know, we can get into self-sabotage and self-doubt and disempowering behavioral, mental, and emotional patterns that are in avoidance, right? So we go to avoidance. And so what could be the way that we could support ourselves in not getting stuck and tripped up by failure? What I call emotional ninja hacks. So an emotional ninja hack for failure is really to take action, right? Still take inspired action. So remember where earlier I said, okay, well, a lot of people make decisions from fear, but when we make decisions from possibility or from love, a whole greater scheme of opportunities happens. And in fact, when we make decisions from love and from possibility, we really step into miracle making landscape, right? I know, I've personally experienced, I've seen my clients experience it. So it's really making that shift. So when we are triggered into the emotion of failure, we want to get to a place of inspiration, get to a place of motivation, and take action from that place. So taking that action from the yes energy, not from the no energy. Take action from love energy and not from fear energy, if that makes sense. The second emotion that trips us up in our business and work and relationships is worthlessness. So it's that emotion that's linked to shame. It's really that emotion that has us stuck in the not good enough conversation. We all have it. It is our cross as a human being, as part of our human nature, that good enough, not feeling good enough conversation. And it is what we are meant to evolve from and make peace with during our lifetime. Some of us reach it, some of us, you know, are able to do it, and some of us unfortunately don't. But what happens when we are connected to and triggered into worthlessness, because it is connected to the emotion of shame, which is the lowest vibrating of emotions. And I'll go into a moment about the consciousness vibration and how emotions are frequencies. They're vibrating at a certain level, and that's how we can actually determine what we are calibrated to earn. But I'll go that and show that in a second. When you are triggered into the emotion of worthlessness, you don't feel good enough for anything. So how can you feel good enough for love, for health, for success, for abundance, for money, right? You don't. So what happens when you're triggered into the emotion of worthlessness, of feeling worthless, not good enough? It's only a part of you that feels that. It's not all of you, right? Consciously, you know that you have talents and gifts. Consciously, you know that you've achieved things. So there's only a part of you that feels worthless or that feels not good enough. And so it's really the emotional ninja hack here is to bring love and compassion to that part of you. So practicing self-love, practicing self-care, and really bringing that compassion back to center. The biggest emotion that trips us up is fear. And why? Because fear has us get into that fight or flight, right? It has us freeze or stop or question, gets us into some never-ending cycles of self-doubt, of sabotage. And so what happens is when you have the awareness that you are in a trigger of fear, then the emotional ninja hack here is to act even though you're afraid. So it's really to tap into the more positive emotion of courage, the higher vibration emotion of courage. You know, fear, by the way, vibrates at around 150. Courage vibrates at 200. And courage is actually the catalyst. It is the emotion that gets you from the lower, heavier, and slower frequencies and the emotions that are connected to that, like grief, shame, apathy, anger, craving, pride, the bad pride, not the good pride. And so courage gets you over that hump into that more positive, more supportive and expansive state of being. So this is where then we start the conversation of, well, how does emotion predict our revenue? Let me share a chart with you. So this is the chart of emotions created by a quantum physicist by the name of David Hawkins. If you can see here, we are right at courage. We've been talking about some of the negative emotions that trip us up in business, and that's because they keep us in survival paradigm, in that resistance, in that efforting. Once we get to courage and we can ascend through the various levels of consciousness, we actually get into that miracle making opportunity and possibility space. And we are in that state of being that is able to take action from inspiration, from goals, from joy, from love, from that place of excitement of creating and creation of a life of our own choosing, right? So you say, okay, so how do we figure out, you know, how I'm calibrated to earn what amount of money? Well, because each of these, as you see, there's numbers. Courage vibrates at 200. You know, neutrality vibrates at 250, acceptance at 350, love at 500, right? Each of those levels, even the negative ones, the lower ones, all are calibrated into a certain level of revenue, okay? So I'm going to share with you another chart, and this is a chart that I've created throughout my studies of David Hawkins's work and my own application in not only my own life and business, but in my clients' life and business, where, you know, clients have been able to double, triple, and quadruple their revenue and you know, or their income if they're working for someone, right? So by getting promotions or switching jobs, because they have been able to understand how to manage their emotions, do the inner work, and raise their emotional vibration. So, for example, if you look at this chart, which is money consciousness chart, you'll see that, you know, when you are below courage, you're really, you know, calibrated to maybe make about 75,000. If you want to get to the 6-figure and 7-figure amounts, you need to get to courage and beyond. You need to raise your emotional vibration, raise your emotional intelligence, and really calibrate yourself to a higher earning potential. And so how do we do that? Well, it's simple and not as simple, right? It's as simple as introspecting and as doing the inner work, but sometimes it's not as simple because we can't see it, right? It's what we don't know that we don't know. And so that's where then, you know, having someone, a coach or a guide that helps you to uncover what is in the subconscious and what is holding you at those lower levels and in those triggers can be supportive. So a lot of people, you know, ask, okay, well, I would love to know where I'm calibrated at, right? What does that mean? What can I do to then raise my vibration to then earn more, do more, and be in that miracle making state of being? Well, I actually have created a complimentary reading for everyone who's attending this summit, and I'll put it in the chat. It is a emotional vibration and revenue calibration reading where I actually can read your emotional vibration. We'll see where you are on the chart. What does it mean? And what your revenue calibration is, what you're really potentially calibrated to earn. And if you're there, what does it mean? If you're not there, how to get there, and give you tips to actually move forward. So it's an actual working session. It's really actually amazing when you see yourself and you operate yourself as a holistic being, and as a holistic being in connection with your work or your business, so that you can actually take a macro view on how you can guide and lead your business for maximum efficiency, productivity, and success. So thank you so much for having me here today, Brian. If I have time, I'm open for questions. And just put that link in the chat for anybody to take me up on my offer. Are there any questions?
It seems like I always have to break the ice. But I love what you're talking about, because the coach that I'm working with currently talks about this all the time, about love versus fear.
Yeah.
You know, he's constantly telling me, okay, Brian, where is that coming from? Oh, that's coming from fear. You know, let's work on coming from love. And also he's been talking to me a lot about like following my heart rather than my brain. So I'm too much in my brain and not following my heart. And as I've shifted in the last few weeks to heart, it's been amazing. It's like all of a sudden, wow, this feels good. This is, and there's so much more energy. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I have energy for this now because I'm following my heart instead of my brain and thinking of all of the negatives, or all of the self-doubt, or all the
Exactly.
all the lies that I say about myself.
Absolutely. And you said the operative word, it feels good, right? We really, as human beings, one of our purposes is to feel good. We want to live our life from that place of feeling good, not feeling weighed down by all of the negative emotions. And so what happens when you do come from that higher vibrational state, that higher emotional state, because you're feeling better, your motivation goes up, your your task, your doingness goes up, right? So accomplishing things, being more efficient and effective goes up, your productivity goes up, and therefore then your achievements goes up, right? Because everything is now raised to a higher level, you're able to create more. And that's then really where we come into manifesting energy. I know most of you have probably heard about the law of attraction and saw The Secret. One of the things though that The Secret left out is that, yes, the law of attraction is great, and it's acting all the time, but there's also another law, which is the law of action. And if we don't take action in the things that we do and that we want, we're really never going to get there. We're really never going to manifest, right? If you just think about it, if I want to build a house, I'm going to have to get busy, right? I'm going to have to go buy the wood, hit nails, get a hammer, and then start hammering things together. But before that, I got to have strategy. I got to have a plan on how to do it and follow the plan. And then with effort and with action, inspired action, because I want to build this beautiful house, eventually I will get to completing the house. But if I don't take that action from that inspiration and then do the actions that are necessary, I'm never really going to manifest, right? And so it's really then, once you are in that, it's then connecting yourself with the positive emotions so that you keep yourself kind of in check, right? It's like, and that's why emotional intelligence is a work of self-awareness, is really that constant becoming aware of where you're at emotionally and what you're feeling in the moment so that you can navigate yourself out of it, right? So when you feel triggered by something, for example, I was triggered by someone last night, and in the moment, I wanted to react a certain way, but because I had awareness of my trigger, I was able to lessen my reaction and get into response, right? And then I was able to notice, okay, well, what was that about? Why did I want to go into that reaction? Why did I want to say that thing or do that thing, right? What was it about? And then I was able to introspect and really understand, okay, that was a trigger. from a place of, fear, a place of hurt, right? All of those things. And then I was able to kind of work myself through it and get back to that higher level of frequency and vibration. So that's not to say that we're not going to feel all of the gamut of the emotions. We are, because we are emotional beings. So we will feel fear, we will feel anger, we will feel disappointment and grief and apathy at times and shame at times. The key is not to get stuck there. And the key is to constantly move yourself up and out so that you can constantly raise your vibration and be connected to that manifesting powers that we all have.
Awesome. Good
But yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah. And so, I mean, if anybody's curious, you can also go to callwithmp.com. I'll put that in the chat as well, to just book a 15-minute call if you want to geek out on this stuff. Obviously, with 20 minutes, there's only so much that I could put in there. There's so much more to talk about emotional intelligence and the neuroscience behind it, and how we can really use it to maximize our potential and really live into our potential. So I'll put that link in the chat too, if you just want to have a chat.
All right. Thanks, Michaela. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing. And now we're moving to our final speaker, which is myself. And I'm not going to do an intro. My assistant actually typed up an intro or a bio for me, but it would be kind of silly for me to read it. So as the owner and CEO of the Public Speakers Association, I have participated in quite a few of these virtual summits and other summits put on by other people. And so today what I want to talk about is how to give a good presentation in a virtual summit. And I'm going to share my screen. All right, someone give me some thumbs up if they can see my screen okay. All right, good deal. All right, so like I said, I've been in quite a few of these, and what I want to talk about today is not a critique of anyone's speech that they did today, or it's not a critique of anyone's speeches in the past. At other summits, or that they did in other venues. And what I want to talk about is so tips for speaking at virtual summits or web conferences and Zoom meetings. And we've been doing Zoom for about 4 years now. Oh, in fact, I think the 4-year mark just passed just a little while ago. Anyway, and so we're all getting pretty used to these. But what I want to talk about is in comparison to live meetings. So what I want everyone to think about is treating a virtual summit as much as you can like it's an in-person speech, and try and use as much of that training that we've done for live in-person speeches for virtual summits. And yeah, so remember, I'm not trying to critique anyone. There are some groups that do a lot of critiquing. I like to consider it coaching, or coaching and helping one another, or working together for all of us to raise our level of speaking. And I am not an expert at all of these. I still struggle with some of these things that I'm going to talk about, and I'm still working on a lot of these things as well. All right, so I want to talk about the use of technology, about the atmosphere that we create, about our audience, who we're speaking to, and then I want to talk about etiquette. And maybe I want to talk about how to do slides, because I probably should not have put in so many different features, like the etiquette bouncing. That was distracting. I don't know why I did that. All right, so let's talk about technology. So the first thing I want to talk about is your internet connection and your computer, I guess at the same time. So when you're going to be doing a talk like I'm doing now, and everyone's been doing today, make sure that you have a good internet connection. So if that means moving to a different room, maybe you have to move to a different room. If that means maybe finding a different location, you need to go somewhere where you have better internet connection, then do that. Or if it means you need to go out and invest in a better solution for your internet connection. Maybe you just don't have the right bandwidth and you're having a lot of problems doing a Zoom meeting. If you've ever been in a Zoom meeting where someone freezes it up a lot, it gets really frustrating. And if you're giving a talk like this and you freeze up, then that's really not ideal at all. That's not a good situation. And if your computer is old and is not able to keep up with the demands of audio and video at the same time, maybe you might need to think about some kind of upgrade of your computer. So camera and lighting. When I first started doing Zoom, I had an older computer and the camera on it was not good, and the picture wasn't good when I was doing Zoom meetings, and so I actually went out and bought another camera to use instead of the built-in one on the laptop. I was using a different camera, and that's helped out a lot. And another thing is lighting. So I've seen a lot of people have been in dark rooms while they're doing a Zoom meeting or a Zoom presentation. And if it's too dark in the room, bring in another light. In fact, I have another light. I can't reach it, but anyway, that I sometimes turn on depending on the lighting. Or you can buy professional lighting. Well, like in the picture that you see, he has extra lighting source to make sure that he's showing up well on camera. And don't sit in front of a window. If you are sitting in front of a window and there's a window behind you, then no one will be able to see your face. The light from the background of the window will block out your face, and no one will see your face. It doesn't work well. All right, so let's talk about your microphone. So I'm using the headset because I want to be able to hear everything well. There is a microphone on here, but I have it turned on so that it's using a different mic. Because if I did this, then you would hear, actually, someone tell me you don't hear scratching when I do this, do you? Anyway, so yeah, make sure you're paying attention to your microphone. Maybe you need to go out and buy a different microphone than the one that is built into your computer. But test those things out and make sure that computer, internet, lighting, microphone, all those things are working. Practice with them and check it out beforehand. And then there's that bouncing, annoying effect from my presentation. All right, so your background. So I've seen lots of different backgrounds, virtual backgrounds, or blurring out your background. I think that those are pretty good solutions. However, I'm not a huge fan of those. Like when I first started doing Zoom, I did different virtual backgrounds, and unless you have a green screen behind you, sometimes those don't work out very well, and you move your hand and it's kind of funky, wavy looking. And so I actually have a background. This is like a photo background that photographers use. It only costs like $15. And then I have it set up on some stands that hold it up, and so that you are not looking at the clutter of the rest of this room. We talked about clutter and decluttering. So this is the way that I make sure that no one can see the clutter of the room or distractions that are going on behind me. So lots of people use use something in their home. They, or they're in an office that's well trafficked and there's stuff going on behind them. So that can be distracting during a presentation. I believe Tracy said that she was actually in a hotel lobby when she did her presentation, and I didn't notice anything. She had a virtual background, and I didn't notice anything behind her, and I didn't notice any outside noise either. So she did a good job with that. And if she was not, in fact, in her office and she was in a hotel lobby. All right, so atmosphere. I was just talking about eliminating distractions. We have had some speakers on a virtual summit that were sitting on a couch, and it was he or she, I can't remember, was way too comfortable, just kind of laid back, sitting on the couch, and there were kids running around, kids jumping up on his lap or something, or a dog, or both. I can't remember, but I've seen it all. I've seen kids, I've seen dogs coming onto the screen. And if you were up speaking at a big, doing a big speech at a convention in front of thousands of people, you would not have, little kids running around. You would not have a dog. So trying to be more professional on our virtual summits, I think is important. Okay, so location. I was talking about some of the locations that people have done their virtual summits from. There was someone that was on their phone and they were outside. I think they were like in their backyard up against a fence or something. And he was holding his phone, and so it was moving around. That is not ideal. Using your phone for a virtual summit doesn't work too great. And having the motion, that was very distracting. It was kind of making me seasick almost, or giving motion sickness. So remember your location. And there was another guy who was on a bus when he did his speech. He was traveling and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on a bus," and you could hear the noise of the bus as he was giving it. For some meetings that might be okay. For virtual summits, it's not ideal. If you're just doing a one-to-one or have a very small group, that might work okay for a small meeting, but not for a virtual summit. All right, and your appearance. I always try to wear something that looks professional. I don't go too overboard. I don't wear a suit or a tie or anything. And the good news is that you can look very professional on the top, and when you're on Zoom, you could be wearing shorts or sweats. I am not today. I decided to wear, business type pants, even though sometimes I have been on Zoom meetings wearing shorts and then a nice shirt up top. All right. Now let's talk about your position on camera. So ideally, you should be, your head should be pretty close to the top. There should be a little gap. You don't want to be talking like this, where your head's getting cut off. And you also don't want to be sitting like this. I've seen people that come on like this, and anyway, so you want to be centered, and you want to be looking towards your camera. You kind of want to think of it at like a newscaster that you would watch on TV. How does the newscaster look as they're presenting? They're not going to be slouched. They're not going to be way down. They're not going to be off to the side. They're going to be in the center with their head pretty close to the top, a little margin at the top. I don't know. You want to be in the top, using like 80% of this, 75 to 80% of the screen. All right. So let's talk about your audience. I talked about looking into the camera. Sometimes it's really easy to look all around. I have two monitors. That's another thing I would suggest is if it's easier to present with two monitors, do that. But if you're looking at your notes over to the side the whole time, you're not as engaging as if you're looking into the camera. It's amazing. I've been on some Zoom meetings, one-to-ones and whatnot, where we're looking into the camera, and you really feel like, you know, the person is connecting with you, that you're seeing eye to eye. Ask questions during your presentation. So just because we're on Zoom doesn't mean we can't ask questions. We want to see people. We want to see each other's faces. So get interaction, ask questions, ask for responses, and ask them to turn on their cameras. I didn't do that ahead of time, but when you're talking to people, it's good to see them. Ask them to turn on their cameras. Ask them to be present. Depending on the number of people, you know, you could ask them to unmute and you know, and give feedback while you're presenting. In other presentations, it might be like a webinar style where people are not able to be on camera. They're not able to ask questions during your presentation. But depending on the group size, you know, you can have people asking questions, and you can have people on camera, and so you can see them, so you feel like, so you know if your message is getting across to them. All right, and know your audience, know who you're talking to, and what they're needing. So that's basically on the you know, choose your subject based on who your audience is, and know who they are, so that you're talking about things that pertain to them, that are important to them. And I'm hoping that I am doing that right now, that I'm talking to people that are speakers, people that are doing lots of virtual summits and web conferences, and this is useful for them. That's my hope and my intention today. All right, so let's talk about like etiquette for speakers. So if you're signed up to be a speaker on a virtual summit, be on time, early or early, and show up. We've had far too many people not show up that signed up to be speakers, and that's just not very professional. And you know, sometimes it could be you know, you get the time mixed up because of time differences or whatever, but you know, do your best to show up, be on time, or even be early. And I know there are emergencies and that kinds of things, but just remember, when you're the host, like me, or the person putting on the event, when you're not on time, it's very stressful. And communicate with the organizer. So communicate with them ahead of time, email, text, and make sure that you know what is expected, and you have everything you need to be ready to speak. And stay for all the speakers if you can. When on this platform, I appreciate it when the speakers stay for the entire thing. I know it's not always possible. But I'm also thinking, like, if we were doing this in person, we would all be here for the whole time, for the most part. But virtually, it is pretty easy to come in and out. I know, but just if we want to make this more like an in-person event, it'd be good for everyone to stay for the whole thing. And when you're speaking, don't go overtime. So know ahead of time from whoever is putting it on how much time you have, and make sure you keep everything you're doing within time. And I don't have to worry about that because I'm in charge and I'm the last speaker. So I have that convenience of not having to worry about speaking too long. All right. Oh, and here's one other thing too, that I'm still sharing my screen. However, it's not in presentation mode. I don't know how many times I've seen this, but this is one of my pet peeves, is when speakers don't know how to maximize their screen on their presentation. And they're switching from slide to slide over here instead of having it maximized so that we don't see all the extra clutter. It should be maximized, and then you scroll through your presentation. Not like this where you can see other windows, and not like this where you're moving back and forth over here on the side. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know what happens, but a lot of people don't get their presentation into presentation mode. Alrighty, so that is what I wanted to share with you guys today. And like I said, I'm not perfect at it, and it's not meant to be a critique of anyone. But that's it. And I will take any questions if anyone has any. And make sure you have water when you're speaking too, because if you get dry mouth, you need water. Did someone put something in the chat? Nope. Okay. Oh, Dr. LaWanna Parker says that was great. Thank you. All right. If there are no other questions or anything, we will wrap this up. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for all of our participants and all of our speakers. Thanks, Scott, Tracy, Kathy, Sarah, and Michaela. And if you would like to speak at another one of our virtual summits, watch for our emails and sign up. Or if you want to attend, sign up to be just to attend. And our next summit will be Thursday, April 18th. So we will see you then. Unless anything, does anybody have anything last thing to say before we go?
Thanks so much, Brian. Been a pleasure.
All right.
And I apologize for the emoji. I was
Oh.
not feeling good, but I wanted to be here to support everybody. So better to see that than me.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for being here.
Welcome.